Hello everyone, in this video we will be exploring how we can import data from different sources. The first one is we will see how we can import from our built-in dataset, and the second one is how we can get data from website, and the third one is how we can get data from our local files. So to begin with, how we can load data from our built-in. So in our package, our data is stored as a package. So first we will install datasets, or if you have already installed, we'll load that dataset by using library dataset. So once if you have library dataset, the dataset is loaded in our data in our machine. So how you can just read that data, if you just type dataset and 4 dots, there are lists of data that you can explore. So there are different datasets here. Depending on your expertise, you can just pick one dataset and explore about the data structure. Just to show you, I can pick empty cars. So this empty cars is the dataset about car. So we can assign this as our data frame, data car, which is assigned as empty cars. So if you just Control plus Enter, if you are working on window, this data car will be appear in your environment. So to see the data structure, you can just type head, which means this function will give you the top 6 rows of your data, and if you want more than 6 row, you can assign. So if I gave head, this is 6 row what I have, and types of column. If I want to see at least 20, just specify the number of rows that you want to see. And the bottom 6 by default use the tail function, but if I want again 20 bottom, it will give me the bottom one. So this is one way that you can load built-in dataset from R. And the second one is there is also COVID data built-in in R, which means we are installing as a package COVID-19. Then once you install that package, that dataset, we will load the dataset. So the data is loaded in our data in our machine. So to use that, we need to just type COVID-19. As you can see, the only function in this dataset is COVID-19. If you go click, we need to just wait for a moment. It will be extract and give us a detailed information. But instead of reading all the data in our console, I will assign the COVID data as X. Then it will take some time to load. Then X will be appearing here in the environment. Then we'll follow similar approach to explore that. So let's see the structure of the data. So the structure will give us the attributes of the data, which means it will give us some information about the lists of the column name as well as the data structure, as you can see here. And it's a data frame. The class of the X is data frame, and we have this amount of observation with 47 variables. And there are the glimpse function of tidyverse to see the attributes. So we need to load tidyverse package first. Then once we load the tidyverse, So tidyverse package is a set of packages that has 9 package. So in the tidyverse package, there is also glimpse function to understand the data attribute. The difference is the glimpse function will give you the row number as well as column numbers separately with a clear data type. So you can see also the length by using the dimension of x, which means simply it will give you the row number as well as the variable name, the variable number. So this is how you can get data from the online sources. The second thing from the data built-in data is from this data is the COVID data stored in different level, which means country level, state level, as well as the lower level. For example, if you take Australia, Australia has 3 level. The first level is country level, the second one is state level, and the third one is at province level. So I just want to know from the world data at level 2, so it will give you, for example, the Australia will be at state level. So just try by using this function, but I just want to extract country level data. So I will assign the data that I will extract is Australia at state level from the COVID, which means the one that we install. There is a column country, and from the country is equal to Australia with level to level. So which means at state level, if I extract this, I will get Australia state level data here. Just for your information, to see the data the whole, you can just right click here, just simply click and it will give you view, or you can use the function view with the data frame name. So it will give us all the rows as well as the column. Let's go to the next session. The next session is how we can get data from website. There are different data sets online that we need for our project or research. It's good to explore how we can download that data. So this is the data I got from the website, but if you want to get simply just find COVID online data, there are different online data sources. Following some datas and finding that link, you can just copy here. So what I have done is here I copied the link, and the data I have got is the zip folder. So I gave name URL, which is the path, and the destination file is, as you can see from the very end of the URL, the data is in the CSV format as well as zipped. So I need to have a function to unzip that folder. So that is we need to load the downloader first, then I can get download function. So as we can see, the download function will work by using the URL. Then there is other arguments. So if you go down, here is the example. You can put as it is the zip. For the readability, I just put separately the destination file. Then once the data is downloaded, I will just unzip that. You can check how unzip function is also working. So if you see unzip, there is zip file, and you can just, what is X directory mean, which means the directory to extract file. What this function is doing, unzip the data and just put from the directory. So here is my file directory. So there will be here Australia data CSV and Australia data zip. If I want to explore that, here is the head of all the data. And if I want to know all the column names of the Australia data, I just type column name and put the data. So it will give me all column names of the data what I have, which means starting from ID to key GADM. So in R, once it will give you the initial of the column name. Here is 1. If you just count date 2, confirmed 3, the fourth row is dataset, which means it will give you the locations of your column. So days is from the dataset, the fourth column. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so this is a way that you can get data from online sources. So the third session is how we can read data from our local machine. So if you store all your data in the one project, for example, I have all the data here in my project. One way of reading the data is if I go data here and want to read the Ethiopian CSV, just click here and import the dataset. As you can see here, the dataset what we have is CSV, and by default it will give us which function or which library we need to load to read the CSV data, which means the reader package is the one that we need to use to read CSV data, and the data file name by default assigned as a variable name, which is Ethiopia. Then it will load and view. So there are options here. Use first row as a column name, and if there is a gap, use the delimiter comma. So I will use all the default and read. So as you can see, Ethiopia data is read, and it gives me just all the data set has structure. So this is one way of reading the data if all the data is structured in your working directory. Otherwise, you should find the paths. For example, this data set is saved in my document, which is R tutorial, and here is data literacy. So if I need to just take this path, I need to click and copy here. Then if I paste, for example, the data what I have is in Excel format. As you can see, this is Excel worksheet, and the previous one was comma separated, which means in the text file or CSV. So just for your demonstration, I use data assigned here, and I read the data is in Excel format. So if I just click this, R doesn't recognize the directory, which means if I click this, there is the separator I used, this slash, should be back instead of front. I need to change this to back to read the data if I just want to read that data from the location where I saved. If I change this and read, again, I have something that I need to add because this data, this path doesn't capture the data. So if I add the last one and press tab, it will give me the list. So the one I want to read is the Excel file. Then finally, the data will be saved. See user user document. So this one is not changed. I change this one, then it will read. But there is no read Excel function. I need to install the reader package, which is reader XL. But if I show you the data, I have the data in Excel format, which means has 4 sheets. So if I just click as it is, the function will read the first sheet, but I want to specify because I want only the first sheet. So I will give the sheet name, which means this one, the sheet name I put for the first sheet is 2014 quarter 1. So then I have the data here. As you can see, there is a column name. The column name is not really readable. We will change that in the standard format. So this is one way of reading the data from your local file. So the lesson here is, the first thing is the front slash doesn't recognize the file directory. So if you copy paste from your file path, you need to consider and change this. And the second one is, if it is Excel format, use the Excel function, but you need to install the read Excel package. And the second data type is, if you have data which means not Excel format but in Stata, you need to know which package you need to install to read that data file. The most important thing that you need to note is that you can read any data type, but you need to know in what format your data file is stored and which package you need to use to read that data type. So the Haven package is the package that you can read Stata file, SPSS, SAS file. So the Stata file extension is DTA here. So I have the data here in the data, which means .dta, which DTA tell us about Stata. And if you want to read SPSS, you need to know the extension, which is SAV and also SAS. So if I just read this, you can see by default gives me, you need to load Haven package and read the data. So I just use that and read the data, which is the data was stored in Stata, but I read that using R. The last thing from reading local file is, as you can see from this data, the Excel has 4 sheets. What I can read all sheets at the same time from the read Excel package, there is read Excel sheets. If you see the function question mark here, Excel sheets, and click, it will give you the detailed documentation. The list subsheet name is especially useful when you want to iterate over all the sheets. So what this function will do is, it will read all the Excel file, all the sheets, but it gives the ID name, which means the sheet name will be the ID name. So the first sheet, it will read the first quarter, but R by default will add ID by giving the sheet name. So there are packages that I used to clean the column name. As you can see from the previous data, this column name leprosy bracket new case. So I want to make the column name is clean and readable. So I will add all row lowercase but underscore between each words. That is what the janitor package is doing. Then from the data, each sheet will be bind in row. So which means it will start from quarter one and the last row will be the quarter four. So that is a bind row will help us to do that, but to identify which sheet is come first, this ID will help us. It will give the sheet name. So if I read this, I should assign the file, and if I read this, here is all sheet. It will give the first sheet is ID sheet name 1 and the last is 4. If I want to see the data what I have loaded in our Active Directory, I will use view, and the head and tail function will give us the very few top row as well as the very end rows. So if you want to see the attributes of the data, you can use structure, the length, which means dimension. It will give you the row number with column numbers, and the glimpse is pretty much structure, but it will give you separately row and column. If you want to see all the column that we have, this is the list of column, and you can use as well names function. It will give you similar column names, and the variable name function is also will give you the same column lists. So you can find the column lists in 3 ways. This is all about how you can read or load data from built-in R. The second one is how you can read data from the online source, from the web. And the third point that we covered is how you can read data from your local files. To summarize, reading different data types in R is possible, but you need to know in what format your data is stored, one. And once you are aware the data format is stored in spaces, Stata, Excel, or CSV, it's easy to find the functions. So it's simply go to just in your Explorer and you can Google how to read SPSS file in R. So there are a lot of sources. There is the data that you have, and the way that you read is pretty much documented. You need to have foreign package. So there is foreign package and as well as Haven package, that both of them will help you to read SPSS data. But the most important thing is you need to know whether your data is stored in SPSS or in Stata. So as you see, the file extension for SPSS is SAV, and the file extension for Stata is DAT. Hope you got some lesson how you import data or load data from the built-in R. So in the next session, we'll see the descriptive statistics and some data manipulation in R.